I've got my Carlton Hotel hat. I've got my lion, and I've also got, and I'm not like you, Vim. I'm not as old as an old timer as you, but I've got all my passes, including the. That was my first. Actually, that was my second one. That was the first one I worked on, but I had been the year before in 2006. But 2007 was the first year I worked on, and I've got them all the way up, including including some from Dubai Links and Eurobest, and
How cool is that?
yeah,
Great to see you, Phil.
great to see you. I'm so sorry it's not in Cannes.
Don't worry, we have the feeling that we are there right now.
Yeah, yeah, you look the part.
Our accessories take care of that. What's Lions Live? Can you explain that to us, please?
Yeah, sure. Lions Live. Well, of course, we cancelled the festival, which was a huge thing to do. But I suppose in a world where the Olympics are being cancelled and everything is being cancelled, it's understandable. But what we wanted to do was try to have a connection with the industry and the community, and try to bring them some of the things that we bring in Cannes. Of course, you can't bring everything. You can't bring the sunshine. You can't bring the conversations maybe, but you can bring some inspiration and some sense of belonging. So Lions Live, which starts on Monday, 22nd of June, which is would have been the first day of the festival, is a combination of films that people have made for us, interviews, other types of content. We'll be giving awards out. There'll be a quiz. It's an attempt to try and bring as much of the Cannes feeling as we possibly can to everyone in the world.
There is a competition, but not as we know it.
Yes, we have a Young Lions competition. We're giving the awards of the decade. So we're giving Agency of the Decade, Network of the Decade, Independent Agency of the Decade. We're giving the Lion of St. Mark to Mary Wells Lawrence, which is wonderful. But of course, we won't have the actual judging and the lions, which is obviously very sad.
If that doesn't happen, what are the judges and the jury presidents supposed to do?
Well, we'll be interviewing some of the jury presidents during Lions Live, so they'll have an opportunity to talk about their categories. But we're really taking everything from this year and we're moving it all to next year. So each of the jury presidents will be judging next year. Any work that has been entered into the festival for this year will be judged next year. So we'll be judging 2020 and 2021. So we hope to be able to look back and honor the work from 2019 and from 2020 next year. So that's the plan.
I see. So the judges don't have a specific activity in this edition.
No, because we don't have the entries. We cancelled the entries. We cancelled the festival. We cancelled everything. So so it'll be very strange for everybody, I think, this year.
But one thing we've learned is to stay positive. Like, for example, what opportunities does Lions Live offer that a normal edition wouldn't?
Well, I think there are the biggest thing, of course, is that it's available to everybody and it's free. So we do have an opportunity to reach out to people who cannot come to Cannes. There are many, many people who are very interested in creativity who can't attend Cannes for whatever reason, maybe for cost or other reasons. So being able to create something digital gives us people the opportunity to enjoy some of the thinking, some of the content, some of the inspiration that we're providing on a totally global scale. So that's the biggest opportunity. And the truth is that if we hadn't cancelled the festival, we for sure wouldn't have created something like Lions Live. And the content, it's really, really good. So we've created something that we would never have created. So that's an opportunity that's happened.
That's cool. One thing I wanted to ask in the beginning, in fact, is when in early April you had to decide to not to postpone but to cancel Cannes Lions. How did you feel personally after that decision? What was the thing that went on in your head and in your heart?
I felt very sad. I felt very worried because I felt worried for our staff. I felt worried for the people who work around us, because Cannes Lions is created not just by our staff, but by many, many hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of people who build the things that come to Cannes, and the whole ecosystem around it. There's a lot of people who are very, very affected. And I was very worried about them. I was worried about our staff. And I was very sad, of course, because it's been on the calendar every year for 54 years. So that's since 1954, sorry, for much more than 54 years. And that's a huge thing. So it was complicated, but my biggest emotion was worry. What's happened is that although we have had to put some people on furlough and very sadly had to lose some people, mainly we've managed to keep the staff, and mainly the suppliers who work around us are also, most of them, okay. So it's good so far.
That's cool. The things that you've missed, I think you already mentioned them.
I'll miss it. Honestly, this week is just terrible because we arrived the week before everybody else. Of course, the journalists like yourself arrive as well quite early, but so this week now, it's Friday. Cannes Lions would be starting on Monday, but we would have been there already 1 week, and we know exactly what we would be doing. We'd be briefing the juries, we'd be working with the juries, we'd be setting up the festival. And so it's very odd to be sitting here in England and not doing something we've done for so many years.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about it? Do you feel strange?
I do feel strange because it's the first time in 23 years, and it's been part of my life too. But I'm also excited. I also got used to looking at the positive side, and I'm quite curious about what's going to happen next week. And the good thing is that with media marketing, we are making Cannes live in Belgium, or keeping it alive with our Cannes Unlocked program, which people are looking at right now.
Oh, great.
What's the one thing that, or one of the things that you will definitely not miss not being in Cannes, not having a real Cannes Lions this year?
What will I not miss? I suppose the one thing I won't miss is every day at Cannes Lions, when you're organizing it, something big goes wrong. And many years ago, I realized that the trick is to not worry about something going wrong, but just apply yourself to the solution. So you assume something will go wrong. The only question is, how can we fix it? But there have been some very, very big things that have gone wrong over the past 15 years that I've been involved. So I don't miss that panicky feeling when something big happens and something big goes wrong.
One last question. There are, especially with the COVID situation, there are more and more ads and campaigns that are all about meaningfulness and good causes and purposes. Sometimes you wonder, can a car seller still just sell a car? What is your meaning about just branding or making a product ad in the future?
It's a really interesting question, and I've talked to many marketers about this. And I think the smartest marketers, the way they look at it is that they see no tension between those two things. So if you look at very successful marketers like Microsoft or Procter & Gamble or Unilever, they obviously understand they want to sell product, but they also understand that if they're creating a piece of work that places their brand in a certain way in the mind and really something meaningful, that actually that builds brand value that ultimately will end up with commercial success. So I think what's happened at Cannes in the last few years is that conversation about should it be just a product-led ad or should it be a purpose-led ad? I think now people understand that it can be both, it needs to be both, and you have to attend to both. But also that there is nothing wrong with purpose-led advertising. And in fact, what that does is it builds brand equity. There was a very good example of that last year with the Microsoft console work that won a Grand Prix for the consoles that disabled people could use. And the CMO of Microsoft said on the stage at Cannes, the money we made from that was so tiny, we didn't even notice. But the brand value that it added was so huge that we could actually measure it. So I think that's the interesting conversation.
And I think it's an interesting evolution. We're going to stop the this first interview here. Thanks for starting up our program in Belgium. I see we both have a radiator behind us. We're not in Cannes, but we are in Cannes with our hearts. Thanks a lot, Phil.
Great to see you again. Thank you. See you next year.